The Football World Cup's the biggest sporting event in the world, and you can keep up with the play with me, Jason Piney, and my good mate and former All-White David Choate on Football Fever. Listen daily throughout the World Cup as we bring you all the action from Qatar. Choate and I love football. We can't wait for the World Cup to get underway. So join us as we live through all the goals, all the drama, all the glory. Download Football Fever from iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. One of the best features of our show this year has been our regular Sunday chats with James McOnie from The Crowd Goes Wild, and I'm glad you're here, James, because I've been battling myself over this World Cup final. I've got no clue who's going to win. France, Argentina, who you got?
Well, I guess I'm the one contributor who looks the most like a panda, so I am probably the person to ask. And at this stage, I honestly can't help you, Piney, because I like them both, and for various reasons, but I'm tending towards France. What about you?
Yeah, well, it's the whole head-heart thing, isn't it? I mean, I think a lot of us would love to see Lionel Messi lift that trophy to cap an astonishing career, but France just seem to have slightly more weaponry. I don't know. So head-heart, it's an old cliche. Head France, heart Argentina, probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's the bizarre love triangle of Mbappe, Griezmann, and Giroud, which is hard to sort of get around because they just seem to create so many chances. If Giroud actually, got a decent sort of foot or head on a few chances, they might have won their games by a lot more, right? Because the ball's coming into the area. Meanwhile, Messi spent his whole time just carrying them. He's been the camel in the desert for those guys, for Argentina. But they have got Dybala, who's coming back. He plays, everybody might remember him from his time at Juventus, and now he's with Roma. He's a quality striker, so at least they're getting a few more weapons, I guess, cabinet. It's just, I think it comes down to whether the game goes on as a stalemate. Then I feel like Argentina come into it.
Yeah, longer it goes, goalless. I totally agree. I think Argentina probably get their noses in front. Change in the Blackcaps captaincy during the week for test matches anyway. Tim Southey gets the armband if they wear an armband in cricket. What did you make of Kane Williamson stepping down as captain of the test side?
I like the move, Piney. It's kind of self-awareness, and sometimes you do have to make the call yourself. I did that at Crowd Goes Wild and said, you know what, I'm not going to host anymore, but before you get the tap on the shoulder, right? But for Kane, it was like one of those ones where he's always relied on his deputies. I'm sure he wouldn't mind admitting that. He had Ross Taylor by his side for a lot of his career, and Tim, and they are really good tacticians, those two. Tim in particular, I feel like he deserves this. I mean, he's always been the kind of a bit of a lad, the prankster in the team. I think he put a rock in Dan Vittori's bag on one tour back from Bangladesh, like a giant rock. I mean, he's just one of those guys who you got to keep your eye on. But now they've turned him into the head boy, and I appreciate it because even Richie McCaw, I did an event with him last week. I was emceeing an event. He was talking about leadership, and he said, sometimes you do have to lean on your deputies and admit you're not the only leader, and that's kind of where Tim Southey has emerged, I think.
Yeah, and regardless of who's the captain, we're going to get it all free to air from next summer for 3 summers. A shame that Spark Sport couldn't maintain its position as a viable entity. What did you make of all of this? And I mean, surely this is a win for cricket fans, isn't it?
Yeah, I've noticed that cricket fans have just been celebrating the fact that they're going to see the game. I mean, I grew up with cricket on free-to-air. I think I watched the Underarm live. I watched Richard Hadley take 9 for live in Brisbane. And, just those moments, sometimes, it is really nice to have that reach, and it'll be great for the sport. And I feel like cricket needs that. So, it is sad for Spark. They've actually raised the bar with a lot of their, what they've done with their commentary teams. And, someone like Stephen Fleming has emerged as like just an absolute natural. I mean, he sells heat pumps. He wears his pants high. He does it all, really, like he can. And so I feel like, I doff my cap to Spark for what they did in terms of their coverage, and they probably had to do it on the sniff of an oily rag. And now it's up to TVNZ to show that they can do it just as well. So, look, the changing landscape, in the end, it's good for the kid who's in a house that doesn't have pay TV, right?
Indeed, indeed. I was pleased to hear yesterday, I spoke to Kate Slater from TVNZ. You know, in the old days, James, when you and I were ancient and it was in black and white, you'd come towards the 6 o'clock news and you think, we're not going to make it. We're not going to make it. This game's not going to be finished in time. We're going to leave it for the news.
Yeah, that's right. The priority, cricket. Yes, that's it. It's like it was everything about it. I actually think that cricket really does lend itself to those long days where you can just sort of dip in and dip out, and whatever platform it's on, the fact there is access. I mean, I think the World Cup's on free-to-air tomorrow as well. Just speaking of free-to-air sport, 4 a.m. That'll be on Prime, and I think FIFA stipulates that. And so, it's good that there is that kind of sprinkling of free-to-air sport.
James, I've loved chatting to you every Sunday during the year. I hope you're getting some sort of break, are you, before you charge into what would appear to be a fairly busy 2023?
Yeah, I am, Piney. I'm down in the Waikato already, so trying to reacquaint myself with the family. They've welcomed me back after all the COVID years. Actually, it hasn't been that bad, but at least one relative here today I haven't seen in 3 years. You know what it's like. It just has been tricky, and I'm heading down to Taranaki doing the usual kind of thing, and I haven't done that for a few years either because of the restrictions. So. No, this does feel like a bit of a summer of freedom, and I've really loved speaking to you on Sunday. I get amazing feedback from News Talk ZB listeners, so thank you to them, and also some advice as well, which is always good. We can always there's lots of work-ons, as they say.
Indeed. Safe travels, mate. Happy holidays. We'll speak in 2023. James McOnie, Crowd Goes Wild, big part of our Sundays on News Talk ZB.